America's war against Iran is more than a week old and has brought retaliation against at least 10 countries in the Middle East. There are concerns that those attacks could come to the United States.
Do you think the threat level against the United States is up or down when it comes to radical Islamic terrorists?
It's up.
This week, we examined the potential threats to the homeland. The most abstract math equation in history didn't come from Einstein. It was created by insurance companies and their middlemen.
We've really developed this kind of crazy system where the list prices of drugs are very artificial concepts and not something that really anybody pays.
This week, we look at the history of failure in fair pricing for the drugs Americans need and the new approaches to make prescriptions affordable. California's wildfires have devastated communities year after year, but in many places the charred landscape remains, and rebuilding is an almost impossible dream. Are you planning to rebuild something here?
I would like to. What I do, I don't even know right now.
This week, we look into California's recovery efforts and why it's so hard to rise from the ashes. Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. This marks the beginning of the second week of Operation Epic Fury. Here's a look at the latest developments. U.S. Command says the U.S. controls the skies over Iran after launching from the sea, destroying the Iranian regime's mobile missile launch capabilities. U.S. forces sank or damaged over 30 Iranian ships. That includes a U.S. submarine using a torpedo to sink an Iranian frigate. Israel started a second front with heavy attacks on Lebanon, targeting a resurgent Hezbollah terror group funded by Iran. Iran targeted 12 MidEast neighbors, largely by going after U.S. military bases. Congress voted to allow Epic Fury to continue. Republican majorities stopped Democrat attempts to invoke restraints through the War Powers Act, and there are travel warnings for Americans in the MidEast. Lisa Fletcher reports on the concerns and warnings within our own borders.
Do you think the threat level against the United States is up or down when it comes to radical Islamic terrorists?
It's up.
That testimony this week on Capitol Hill from the former Secretary of Homeland Security. As the U.S. attacks against Iran increased, along with Israel striking in Lebanon, and the first attack in the United States being called an act of domestic terrorism. Early last Sunday, a suspect wearing a sweatshirt with the words "Property of Allah" opened fire outside a popular bar in downtown Austin. 3 people died, more than a dozen were wounded. The concern now, from Capitol Hill to law enforcement, is how large and how real is the threat.
The previous administration's open border policy brought millions of people to this country. We don't know everyone's background or true intent for entering, but we know many of these had ill intent.
Given reports that nearly 1,500 Iranians have illegally crossed the border in the last couple of years, and at least half of those were released into the United States, does that raise a realistic concern here that there could be cells forming, sleeper cells forming?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, during 4 years of President Biden, 18,000 known or suspected terrorists, now not all of them were Iranians, but 18,000 tried to cross that border, and a large majority of them made it across that border and into the United States. And as you indicated, 1,500 of those are Iranian nationals coming over to the States.
Chad Wolf is former acting Homeland Security Director during the first term of President Trump.
And Iranians, like many others, are what we call special interest aliens. They come from a part of the world that obviously has ties to terrorism, or they have routes that they take here to the United States that raises the concern.
Are they potential lone wolves?
Usually what we see for lone wolves are individuals that are not being directed.
Lone wolf attacks date back decades. Murrow Malkasi is often cited as one of the first lone wolf terrorists in the U.S., driven by Islamist extremism. In 1993, the Pakistani national killed 2 employees outside CIA headquarters in Northern Virginia. Major Nadal Hassan, an American-born Army psychologist, killed 13 fellow soldiers and injured more than 30 in 2009 at Fort Hood in Texas. And last year, Shamsuddin Jabbar, also a U.S. citizen, rammed a truck into a New Year's crowd in New Orleans, killing 14 people and injuring nearly 60 others.
For people who don't know, explain a sleeper cell.
It could be a network of individuals around the country. They are being directed, in this case by Iran or the regime or elements of the regime, to take certain actions. And then, at the right time, they will be directed to take a certain action.
Realistically, what would an attack look like?
I think when you talk about sleeper cells and you talk about an operation of some kind, usually there's more sophistication. They're getting financial help and expertise from a nation-state actor or another group overseas.
In terms of vulnerability, are obvious hard targets still the focus, or are softer targets that are less obvious maybe more vulnerable right now?
I think what we continue to see is that the terrorists still like those iconic targets of the United States, places in New York or elsewhere. Those targets over the years have been hardened. I think I'm most concerned about mass gatherings. So think of stadiums, think of venues like that, concerts, where it's a chaotic situation to begin with. There's thousands of people there, and it's easier to blend in and to conduct an operation of that kind versus some of the other targets that have been hardened over the years.
But even at war, and with clear and present threats, the nation's main domestic protector is facing a political challenge.
We've been invaded. Only God knows how many people are here and what they're up to. And the idea we're not defunding DHS is insane, criminally insane.
For Full Measure, I'm Lisa Fletcher.